Today, I am joined by Rob Kelly, a three-time CEO and founder, now leading OnGig, a software company focused on eliminating boring and biased job descriptions, and hosts the podcast Media and the Machine, where he explores the intersection of AI and content.
There's just an article about the new version of Microsoft Windows. I was like, let's get a quote from Bill Gates. You know, I'd hide at conferences, pop up on him before his keynote. And one night, I'm working late. The phone rings. I pick it up and it's like, hey, Rob, it's Steve. I'm like, Steve who? He goes, Steve Jobs. I was like, get the out of here. So I started writing a newsletter on documentaries. I love documentaries. And while I'm writing it, ChatGPT launches. I was writing 6x faster, better, more. So I said, forget about just writing about documentaries. I got to write about AI. It's this powerful new thing that's built, and there's a magic to it, right? And I'd say nuclear powers may be the only other thing, or even the Big Bang and how we all got here. Like, I see it on that level. At the end of the day, business is simple. Customers have problems, and you got to solve those problems.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Life's a Pitch. Before we get into today's episode, I need you to do me a huge favor. Whatever platform you're on, so Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, make sure to follow or subscribe. I know everybody always says that, but for a newer show like this, one subscriber genuinely makes a huge difference. All right. That's my ask. Let's get to our amazing guest for today's show. Welcome to Life's a Pitch. I am your host, Jared Gibson, and today I am joined by Rob Kelly. Rob is a three-time CEO and founder, taking one company from bootstrap to over 100 million in revenue. He's now leading OnGig, a software company focused on eliminating boring and biased job descriptions, and hosts the podcast Media and the Machine, where he explores the intersection of AI and content, and runs the Daily Doc, where he recommends documentaries for fun in 2 or 3 sentence emails. And we will get into that one in a second. And just to throw this one in, because I'm very curious here, he started very early. So he attended board meetings when he was 16, and he began his career as a journalist interviewing people like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and Andy Grove, if you've ever heard of those people. Rob, what's up, man? How are you?
Good. I just got goosebumps because it's like sometimes I forget how lucky I was that I got to do things like that, interview Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. Like, you know, it's like, yes, you know how you move on and you kind of do new things. And it's like, yeah, that was a while ago. And
it'd be irresponsible if I didn't start there. Like, what's the, like, how, just break down how that happened. And then if you have anything that you can remember, any fun little quirk that any of those guys have, that'd be an awesome add-on.
Yeah, I mean, it started like a lot of us, especially us guys. I mean, it started with my dad telling me in college I was a horrible student until later in life, and he told me in college, like, hey, you might want to write for the school newspaper. He didn't give me many like tips or advice, but he said you might want to write for the school newspaper. Like, writing's a pretty good tool, like in life, whatever you do. And I think he probably was a little worried about what I was going to do and based on my grades. So I wrote for the school newspaper, and I wrote the single most popular article ever in the history of the university, which was on the favorite and least favorite professors at school. Ooh. Just decided, I heard people griping about their professors, unfair how they tested. I decided to survey them, and I put it out there, and it just was like a blockbuster. And that got me on the path to content. So then I was a journalist, and I worked for magazines that had, you know, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs customers. So they didn't care about Rob Kelly. They just cared about reaching, you know, the 500,000 customers that my magazines, my employer had. But I was also scrappy. Like, if there was just an article about the new version of Microsoft Windows, I was like, let's get a quote from Bill Gates. Like, why not? I don't care. I don't care that there's 5,000 people working there at the time. Like, we need a quote from Gates. And I would hide, like, I'd hide at conferences. I'd sneak backstage and pop up on him before his keynote. Like, I'd hustle, do whatever it took. Because I was like, you know, this is important. This is my article. So that's how I got Bill Gates. And then it was cool because I saw him a number of times, and also even randomly at an airport. Like, then he knew me. He was eating a hamburger one day. He loved hamburgers in the airport alone. It's like, this is like back in the day.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's not doing that today.
No, Steve Jobs. And by the way, just, you know, I was in the presence of a lot of people who worked closely with him too. They were so blown away by him. If I asked them, his team, a question, like, they should know they're probably making, you know, $500,000 a year. Like, they would say, well, just, you're going to interview Bill. Go, just ask Bill that one. And like, they kept saying it, like they wouldn't even answer any question. They were like, just ask Bill. You're going to be He knows it better than me. And then with Steve Jobs, I was writing a story. He had left Mac. He'd been fired, left Apple and been fired. And he was over at this company Next. So he was in between. It was a famous chapter in his life. And I wanted to write about it. And I called his PR people and said, I want to get an interview. And I thought, hey, he's hustling. He's going to need it. And they're like, Rob, no way. He doesn't talk to anyone. He's just busy doing this. I was like, all right. And then one night I'm working late and it's like 6:30 p.m. I'm in the office downtown San Francisco, 88 Kearny Street. And the phone rings. I pick it up and it's like, hey, Rob, it's Steve. I'm like, Steve who? He goes, Steve Jobs. I was like, get the fuck out of here. I thought it was like a college buddy, He's like, I get that all the time, Rob. And it's really a Steve Jobs. Just, what do you need? I'm like, well, I'm writing an article on, I'm fumbling with the recording equipment. And he gave me a bunch of time and it was super cool. And then just to put a postscript on it, years later, I was at this All Things D conference. And Jobs and Gates were on stage together, and they were fierce competitors, but they're older now, and they had softened, and they were buddies, and it was this rock star moment. It was like the place to be on planet Earth that day. They were on stage together, and with my buddy, he bought my ticket for a few $1,000, my boss at the time, and I'm like, here's how it's going to go. They're going to mic up, do a Q&A. We got to ask him a question. And he's like, I said, you want to go? You paid for the tickets. You want to go up to the mic? And he's like, no, go for it, Rob. So I raced up to the mic and I got to ask them a question. And I could see they both remembered me. They were like, oh yeah, that guy, that annoying guy. And that's on YouTube with like 500,000 views. And the beauty of that is someone came up to me on the beach the other day, a mom, and said like, was that you, Rob? I was looking for cool quotes and that interview came up. I didn't tell. I was like, what a wonderful life. Like, cool thing.
That's crazy. That's an incredible story. You were probably one of very few that received an inbound call from Steve Jobs. And today, would you have answered that call or would you have no-sailed it?
Well, I will tell you this, a good lesson too is like everyone's got to hustle. And he was at a low point in his life. He had, I made a bunch of money and stuff, but he wasn't winning. And he had to get on the phone and put in the time, the work. And it's like, I always think of that. It's like, yeah, he was Steve Jobs, but he's like, nope, I got to do this. I'm the guy. And sure enough, he sold Next and went back to Apple and the rest is history. So lots of lessons.
Crazy.
There.
Great story. Speaking of great stories, I do want to stay because I found this one out about you and then we'll get into the other stuff. But you're in the Guinness Book of World Records, right?
That's right.
For group guitar playing.
Yeah.
Like how in the hell did that happen?
Yeah, I went to a music conference in Nashville, NAMM, I think it's called, NAMM, I forget what it stands for. But I was advising some internet company, Harmony, what was it called? Harmony Music, something like that. Anyway, so I was there at lunch break and I was on that little river bank there in Nashville and I see this truck, like Gibson guitars, and all these people lining up. And I play guitar, not that great. But I said, hey, what's going on? They're like, oh, we're setting the Guinness Book of World Records. You got your driver's license? I was like, yeah. And they handed me a guitar. And we played Twist and Shout for 55 minutes with 1,200 people. And we entered the Guinness Book of World Records. And I will never play that song again. I was like, at minute like 40, I was starting to go into like just another dimension.
Yeah,
but I stuck with it because want to win.
Do you just have PTSD whenever that song pops up on the radio now? Or do you actually listen to it?
It's not for me. I'm done with it.
Oh, all right. That makes sense. Awesome. I want to talk about media in the machine because it's something as somebody that runs an agency that is around content. That's our entire play. And the amount that we use AI on the back end to build what we're doing is insane. But you launched Media in the Machine about a year ago, right? You're already a 3-time CEO. You've got On Gig running. You've got the Daily Doc going. Why add this on top of everything else? Like, what was that moment that you decided you had to start covering AI and content and having conversations with other people about it?
Yeah, I remember it. So this guy, Patrick O'Shaughnessy, he's the host of my favorite podcast, and he's the best podcast host. I think he's the best interviewer just on planet Earth. Howard Stern, and he would go.
Howard Stern, the GOAT.
Right there. I know it. And I heard, and he's very private about, he's actually a venture capitalist and he hosts Invest Like the Best. And I'm not even like an investment guy or finance guy, but he's so good that I listen to his podcasts. Like, even though the topic is not exactly for me, he has great guests and he brings out the best in them. And one day someone turned the mic around and on his team and asked him, like, where's all this going 5 years from now? Your podcast's taken off. because it's huge. It's a top business podcast. And he said, they said, where are you going to be in 5 years? And he said, I don't know. I have no idea. I just know what to do next. And man, it just was a wake up call for me. My whole life, and I think a lot of people, especially guys, I find, generalizing here, but stereotyping, but sometimes, there's patterns. And my whole life, I'd been a goal guy. What's the end goal? I literally have Google Docs with the 50-year goal. Well, the bucket list is even kind of like 100 years. My goal is to live in 110. I got my bucket list items. And then I got my 50-year goals, 10, 5, down to 1, down to month, down to quarter, down to day. Ramit Sethi, the famous guy who I happened to be friends with early on before he was famous, he had me on just talking about my goals. So I'd been goal guy all my life. And Patrick said, instead, he inverted it. He's like, forget about the end goal. He just knows what to do next. And I said, what would I do if I did that? And I'm fortunate in that I made some money in tech that I could do some tests, like this. And I'm very fortunate in that way. So I decided, okay, I've always wanted to write a newsletter. So I started writing a newsletter on documentaries. I love documentaries. And I just wanted to learn how to do it. And while I'm writing it, ChatGPT launches. And I was like, okay, curious how that'll work. I tried it as a tool, started to use it. I was writing 6x faster, better, more. Same quality. Mm-hmm. I measured it, word count, everything. And I was like, and I don't spam or anything. I was like, the same content. I was like, man, I'm almost 9x. This is a game changer. So I said, forget about just writing about documentaries. I got to write about AI. Started writing about AI, and then I realized this thing is a game changer in life, and it's the biggest invention in potentially in history. So I decided not just write a newsletter called Media and the Machine to launch a podcast, because I thought the people I interviewed, they're more important than what I have to say collectively, right? And I decided I needed to be a guide in life to those wanting to know about AI and business, but also in case something goes wrong. I'm an AI optimist, but hey, there's no guarantee. And I wanted my guests to be guides too in life. So every podcast ends with humanitarian questions like, what's this mean for our family, our jobs, and our future, like species?
Yeah. It's fascinating. I think I told you this before we hit record, but I am pumped to get into it because this is top of mind for everybody right now. Like even from us from a content perspective, but I live in Claude. It's cut 10 hours of my week down and doing tasks that I was just repeating. So it's like stuff like that, but there is the other side of that. So like you're running these interviews with founders and deal makers and operators closest to like AI and content. Like what's the belief that you maybe had going into this that's gotten flipped by actually doing the show and having more of these conversations?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I think what's flipping is that it's the first time where we have an invention that the people who have built it, if you went to the LLMs, the OpenAIs, the Googles, Anthropics, that they actually don't know how it works completely. And to me, that's a really big deal.
Yes.
It's this powerful new thing that's built, and there's a magic to it, right? And the magic also is scary, right? So it's a litmus test for like, also, are you an optimist in life or a pessimist? Because if you're a pessimist in life and you're kind of Danny Downer, your AI's going to freak you out. I mean, it's a massive change, and even the experts can't tell you how it all works. They will admit that. So I think that one is just a new one to wrap one's head around. It's almost like there's usually a comparison. And I'd say nuclear powers may be the only other thing, or even the Big Bang and how we all got here. Like, I see it on that level, and maybe I'm too much of an AI optimist. I don't know. I could talk about this all day, but I just think this is a big freaking deal. And I can't believe, like a year ago, some guy was putting on a conference, and I was like, I assume 90% of this is going to be about AI, right? And he was like, no, I don't know, maybe 5%, 10%. I was like, yeah, you'll see. You'll see. And sure enough, it happened with him the next year. It's going to be, 90%.
Yeah. But do you still think that 6 months ago I would have said this, and I'm starting to rethink it now because I've got friends on my text chain that, are super successful, but we're only using ChatGPT to help them write emails, right? And 6 months ago, I would have said, I think that we are in kind of an AI bubble with a certain, because we, in the groups that I hang around with, I live in Chicago and we go to events and, dinners, and the conversation is a lot of go-to-market leaders, it's around AI. That's all we've talked about for the last, I would say, year, right? But then I would take that conversation and I would have it with other people outside of that bubble. And it was just like, yeah, we haven't really jumped into it too much. That was 6 months ago. In the last 6 months, my parents are using it at this point.
Yeah.
And I just think that we're going to continue to come, like a month from now, we're going to be a lot further than where we are right now. And somebody said to me, right now, today, this is the worst AI will ever be at this exact second, which I always think about. And it's just like, God, there's so much potential, like good and bad. Like I pray that we head down one path and not the other one, and time will tell. But it is fascinating how fast it's moving.
Agreed, man.
Yeah.
I got like my brother-in-law and my sister, totally outside the tech space, both called me and said, like, I love your podcast. And I was shocked because it's like, it's mostly about business and AI and content. It's like, they just love it. And it's like, wow, AI is seeping its way into the rest of the world.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. What would you say to somebody like me that runs a content agency, right? We talked a little bit about what we do, where there's no doubt that had this not come along, we probably would have more clients, right? Because a lot of companies are taking this in-house, which is totally fine. I totally get that. They should be doing that. I think one of the things that we try to do is really stay ahead of the curve. I'm lucky to have two co-founders that are way ahead of even where I'm even thinking right now in terms of how we're using AI. But would you say to somebody like me that runs an agency, because there's a lot of content agencies out there, like where you potentially see this going from a content perspective?
Yeah. I mean, what I'm hearing directly, even from friends, close friends at agencies, that things are crazy. I mean, things are going to get turned upside down. Clients are doing unusual things and acting maybe irrational, laying off like a lot of people or eliminating maybe work with agencies, I call it the pendulum effect, really. Like, they're just going too much one way. They're swinging too much and they're going to come back. But a lot of these layoffs, like, a CEO is going to hear, hey, I can replace 10 of my copywriters with just one AI tool. So they go to one person, they lay off the 9 people, because for most companies, headcount's about half the cost. So boom, they got to hit profits, and they suddenly are more profitable. If they're a public company, even worse. And so I think the pendulum has gone too far, like in that regard. People are like, the CEOs are over worrying, and they're going to go hire back these folks. By the way, some people are really smart, these CEOs. They're like, well, everyone else is laying them off, so we know we can hire them back. It's like, it doesn't quite work that way. Yeah, who are you going to get back? Are you really going to get back the best people? Because they might now prefer to work from home, whatever. They might have moved on. So I think it's a crazy world. Everything's getting turned upside down. But at the end of the day, business is simple. Customers have problems, and you got to solve those problems. And if you're good, AI is going to replace people who don't move along with it. Yeah. But if you can learn that, someone's got to know AI at these companies. So be that person, and then you're safe.
Yeah. Yep. I've seen too many people that are pushing against it and just not leaning into it and learning everything they can. And it's only a matter of time before they are probably going to be replaced with that mindset. I do want to talk about, we could, again, continue to talk AI forever, because I feel like my knowledge base is behind on it. So I could probably just learn a lot from you on this, but I do want to talk about OnGig. You started OnGig in 2011, I believe, as a text analyzer. Flag the biased language, write a less terrible job description. Now, really going back to AI, anyone with ChatGPT can spit out a decent job description in 30 seconds.
That's right.
How is the product underneath you had to evolve when the original problem just got completely commoditized? Like where have you guys gone with the process and the product, and then where you plan on going in the next 3 to 5 years, if you've thought that far ahead?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, what it makes you do, it's made me do, is just double down on being better at solving customer problems, because you're right. Suddenly AI's here, and OnGig's customers can say, okay, well, AI can write job descriptions. That's a lot of what OnGig did. So I'll just use AI. I'll fire OnGig. or use them less, whatever the case may be. And so it's made us think long and hard about basically what can we do that AI cannot do? And that's a great place to play in. And there are things that AI just simply cannot do, So for instance, sure, you can write a job description, you can write 10. If you're a company with 100 job descriptions and you've got all sorts of integrations in place with applicant tracking systems, not to get too nerdy about that whole world of recruiting and HR, but things are actually pretty complicated. It's pretty hard to do that and integrating it all. And it goes back to, it's going to need an AI savvy human to tie that all together. So it just makes us double down on being better at solving problems and also like which lane are we in? So for instance, small business, no, we're not going to help you. Just use AI mostly for that. You can even use AI and say, what does OnGig recommend for writing a job description? And right now it takes it. We actually let AI take our content and everything because we've got 1,000 blog articles on this stuff. But if you got big problems and you're going to need to, you need a human who's going to stand behind the solution also when the shit's going down and for real recruiting and hiring, you're going to need a human plus AI, not pure AI. There's a human in there somewhere. So we want to be those humans, but we got to be AI savvy. And luckily enough, OnGig have been working with AI for many years through pure luck, by the way, and a smart CTO, my co-founder.
Yeah. What does your ideal client look like today?
For OnGig? Yeah, anyone who's, got 100 to 100,000 job descriptions and wants them to be organized, consistent, templated, and the best ad copy to attract a candidate, all going on at an enterprise level with multiple users and everything. And that's a tricky problem to solve. So we do
complex hiring for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good. I would feel remiss if I didn't bring this up because before we get into the extra innings portion of the show, like the Daily Doc, I love documentaries. My wife and I usually try to pick a documentary to watch like on a Friday night after we put the kids to bed. And I don't think that we've gone as deep as you on documentaries, but where did the fascination with documentaries come from? And like, tell me a little bit more about like what you're building with that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm real proud of it. Again, I did it to my wife's chagrin, not for money. So it's always fun to talk about, but I started a spreadsheet because I loved it so much and I'm a list guy. So I would keep track of the documentaries I liked.
Hold on really quick. Did I say on doc?
No, before? You said Daily Doc. And by the way,
I did say Daily Doc.
Yeah. And earlier, I think you said the Daily Doc, and I'm very defensive about this. I bought the domain name dailydoc.com.
I'll cut out the.
No, you can keep this whole thing in. The name is Daily Doc.
All right.
After you spend $6,000 or whatever on a good domain name, you want people to use it. Yeah. Because until then, I own the domain name thedailydoc.com.
Okay. All right, good to know.
But anyway, I always loved documentaries. So being back to, I ended up just being this content guy, back from writing a school newspaper and then being a tech journalist. And I just love content. It's just, I can't explain it. You probably have something yourself where it's like, that's just you. And, in life with content, I mean, there's fact and fiction, basically. There's some in between, right? But those are the two big categories. And I just think that, man, if something's factual and a great story that happened, that sure, people can make up fantastical things. And I love any good story, fiction, Harry Potter, you name it, Star Wars. But when something truly happened, that's a real life story. And I call it like you can't make this shit up. Like when we have our blog articles in Daily Doc, we have a whole section. The core is you can't make this shit up. So our opening documentary is Big River Man. And it's this guy in his 50s who's swimming the Nile River, 500 miles or something. Sorry, the Amazon River. He did Nile too. 2,500 miles. He's swimming it and he drinks like a couple bottles of wine a day and whiskey. And they film the whole thing. You can't make this shit up. Like, that's unbelievable. So it's always, my test is, would I want to tell you this at a barbecue or over cocktails? Like, what would I say? Like, you can't make this shit up. I mean, can you believe this?
Yeah.
Like, Jerry, go watch this. So that's like the core of Daily Doc. And it's just fun. So I've got this spreadsheet and I just dribble it out one a day, a weekday. I take a break on weekends, one a weekday. And it's a very brief email. It's usually 2 sentences. Got the link to the blog article with the trailer and all that. And if you like it, great. If you don't, who cares? I'm not making money off it. It's all for the fun.
That's great. And you've watched all of them. Every single one. You would
Yeah.
do you stamp it without? That's
Everyone
crazy.
that goes out, I have watched. Although I did just hire a partner who's now helping me write them, and so she's got to have watched it too if I have it. But my spreadsheet is still she's still culling from my spreadsheet because I had so many over all the years. Yeah.
I have to ask this question then. What are your top 3 favorite documentaries you've ever seen?
Man, top 3, putting me on the spot.
And no, don't have to be in any particular order.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. It's kind of like where I'm at these days based on what I would hear. You know, ones I like about are Man on Wire, about the guy who walked that tightrope across major buildings in New York City. I forget which one, the Twin Towers maybe at the time.
Is it the guy with the family? He did the one in Chicago where I watched him walk across 2 skyscrapers across the Chicago River here. Maybe
that
10
might have
years
been
ago.
the same guy or another one. But this one, it was Twin Towers in New York City. His name's Philippe Petit, I think.
Different guy, different one.
I love that one. I love Grizzly Man, the guy who went out there and lived with grizzlies. And I don't want to ruin the end of the story.
I know what happened. At the end of that one.
But that's an amazing one. And you know, this one that's just going out now, been retired out of the UK, the 7 Up, where they took the kids and filmed them every 7 years. And so you have them at 7, at 14, at 21, at 28. I mean, that one is truly a one of a kind because you're getting to watch these kids grow up. And they just ended it. They said they're no longer doing it. You know, they're up to, I forget what they got to, 63 or whatever. Hopefully my math's still good. Had a couple cappuccinos today already. And those are a few, but it's all like what mood I'm in at the day to answer that. Those are just a few that are like, I love that stuff. And that Big River, obviously Big River Man that's one of my favorites too. I like ones that not everyone's heard about. That's why it opened with Big River Man. Yeah.
That 7 Up one sounds super interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So this is called Extra Innings. And again, because this is Life's a Pitch and it's supposed to be about baseball, I got to throw some baseball terminology in here. And basically it's
White Sox or Cubs fan or something else?
Neither. I grew up in Cleveland. Okay. So I am a Cleveland fan through and through. So 2016 was a tough year for me.
Okay.
Living in Chicago during the World Series, but it was fun. And you're in Oakland, right?
I'm in Oakland, but I'm from New York originally. So my original team was the Mets. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
are you still Mets? Are you a Sacramento A's fan?
Very good. No.
We play them right now. I think we play them tomorrow.
I've focused my life now on basketball. I've chosen one sport. I don't have the bandwidth for any more, so I'm a huge
Warriors?
basketball fan. No, New York Knicks.
Knicks. Yeah. Okay.
Warriors second.
Got it. My best friend lives down the street from me from New York or Jersey. Big Knicks fan. So his thing is like, hey, if the Knicks play the Cavs in Madison, we're going to, I'll take my son, he'll take his son, and we'll get tickets. We're going to that game. So we'll see if both of those teams get that far.
Yeah. The Cavs are looking a little iffy. James Harden does not enjoy the playoffs.
He does not enjoy playing in clutch. It's a whole separate
They just had a thing on his
conversation,
stats, like playoffs. He's like, it's unbelievable the difference between the playoffs and regular season for him.
There's so many turnovers. Like it's so hard watching. Then he scores, hits a big shot, and it's like, all right. Anyway, let's get back to it. We probably lost about 5 people right there, but whatever. All right. So extra innings, This could be a sports podcast, and we could go on forever on that one. Extra innings. What's one lesson that you've taught others in life or in work that you think that more people need to hear?
You know, it's corny, but it's the campsite rule. It's really leave things better than you found them. And to me, that's also being an entrepreneur. It's like you're building something, you're adding something to the world, you know, and it should be positive, you know, and table stakes, like, you know, pick up trash, like at the campsite. Like I literally do that. I pick up, not just at a campsite. I did it this morning with no one looking on my run. You know, it's like, no, I just do it because it's my community, right? And someone drops some wrappers, hit at a kid playground, whatever. But I take it like to another level, which is also I try to smile and say hello to every person I meet all day and say their name if I can remember. I think that's a big deal. They might be having a bad day. I'm trying to leave them with a little bit, you know, of a better day. And then content-wise and business and everything, I really try to deposit content into the world that doesn't exist or maybe isn't widely known. And if someone's done it, Ray, I'm like, great. I don't care. I don't need to do it. But if it's not it's not out there yet, and it's unique, I want to put it out there in the world to make things better. And I truly believe that if everyone followed this philosophy, it kind of solves almost every problem in life. Make things better.
Good for you. Good for you. I think that just saying hi to people, like we always used to, in a previous life, there was a company I worked for. It was, we had the 1440 mindset is what they said. There's 1,440 minutes in a day. And our job is to make sure that our clients, like every minute of every day, we're giving them the best experience, meaning we're just in good moods, whatever. But our CEO always said 1440 isn't always sunny and 70, right? So there's going to be days that suck. Like how do you show up those days? So I love the campfire mindset around that, because it's like, make somebody else's life better. Just smiling at them or saying hi to them, like, could have a profound effect on their day.
Yeah. And I stole that from someone, the smiling. I forget who it was, but they're like, just do that. It's going to change that person. Literally, it's going to make them smile. And it usually works.
Good. What's something that you love talking about that drives everyone else in your life crazy?
This one, you sent this to me ahead of time, and I was kind of stumped on it. I didn't know what to say. So I pinged my wife and my sister, and my wife was in meetings, and so she couldn't respond. My sister did immediately, had no problem. In fact, she gave two, which is hilarious. But the one that I think is worth sharing is, she says, at restaurants, you go deep into things with waiters. And I think she's really trying to be kind. Like, I go really, really deep with a waiter on their favorite dishes. What's this dish got? The ingredients. I don't mess around. I want to know everything. And it's funny to hear that drives her crazy, because I have no problem with it. It's like, I need to get the best dish. That's it. And I want the best dish for everyone, by the way. So I consider it a community service when I do this. So I'm sorry to my sister. It's great that you brought it up, because it's way better than any answer I could have come up with.
That's awesome. It's my father-in-law is the same way. He wants to know all the details about everything. When we were looking at wedding venues, we went to the hotel in Chicago called the Drake, very old hotel, like very
the Drake.
Like, any people in Chicago know it. He asked the person that was showing us around the hotel if he could go into the kitchen in the basement and check out the oven, because he just wanted it. And we're like, what,
dude? We got to dine together.
She looked at him and she's like, yeah, I guess. I'm glad that he did, because we went down to the bowels of this building, and the amount of history and story that happened down there was crazy. But yeah, so I love that. I just asking the question, just talking to waiters.
I think Harry Met Sally.
As a former server, I love that.
I think Harry Met Sally was the woman, and it was famous for that in that movie. Mm-hmm. Asking lots of restaurant questions.
Yeah, it's great though. All right. Let's see. What is the last thing that genuinely scared you?
Oh, I came in the front door the other day, and my 10-year-old son scared the crap out of me. He was around the corner. He hides right next to the front door.
Did he get it on
video? And no, he didn't get it on video, but he does it a lot, and I'm usually ready for it. And this time I just was thinking about something else, and he just totally got me. And it's one of those where it's like, what, I want to yell at him, but at the same time, I'm like, that's exactly what I would do. And so
yes.
The apple does not fall from the flawed tree.
No, man. There's nothing. When the kids try to scare,
because
they watch those. Yeah, I have a 7-year-old. He'll be 8 in June, and then I got a 10-year-old girl, 7-year-old girl.
Oh wow.
10-year-old girl, 7-year-old boy. But they watch those videos on Instagram, because we'll go through like reels, and it's usually our algorithms are trained. So like I put him to bed, and it's all baseball videos of kids like hitting balls and like whatever. But every once in a while, you'll get a mixed in video of like the reel of people scaring the hell out of each other and recording it and getting the reaction. So that's why I ask if they record it, because those are some of the funniest videos that are on social media right now. It's just the reactions.
I didn't realize that. I got to go check that out with them.
That's good. Awesome. It's good stuff. So don't show it to your son though, because he'll start to record you, and I'll be scrolling through one night and I'll see your scared ass just jump out and fall on the ground or something.
I love it.
All right. What's one tool that you use with work or in life that you just cannot live without?
Laptop, keyboard, microphone. I'd say books are a close second. I always think about this, because actually I prefer to create an ad. So the laptop, keyboard, and microphone. and I know you can now talk into, voice to text and all that stuff super fast, but you can't do it all the time. You'd annoy the hell out of people around you. So I still am big on my keyboard. And then books, yeah. So basically reading and writing, like if you took that away from me, I'd be pretty bummed.
Yeah. Hey, those are the basics. Everybody uses them. What's the truth about business that you did not believe until you actually lived it? Or running a business?
One thing I've learned is make sure you know everyone who's truly in charge. Did a deal once with a gentleman, great guy, great business deal. Everything was awesome. And then at the 11th hour, I found out that his wife was really in charge. And his wife was not nearly as kind and positive a person as the gentleman I was working with. And I've since learned to really make sure you know who's in charge, even on a individual level, who are you really dealing with? So I try to meet even with, get as close as I can to people when I'm doing some sort of major partnership, as many people around them as possible. I wish I had spent more time with his wife ahead of the deal than I did.
Yeah, that's a really good one. All right. Going to a dinner party, you want to sit down, you get to have drinks with 3 people, living or dead. Who are they?
This has always been such a corny question to me. When I heard, I usually, I usually like cringe. But when I knew you were going to ask it, I thought it through, and it ended up being this awesome little exercise for me, which is, first off, the first 2 are my dad and my grandpa, his dad. Mm-hmm. And the reason is that they were both these amazing guys. My dad was a quiz kid that was like, he used to be on radio, like just doing like trivia and stuff, and was just really smart. Photographic memory, went to Columbia, studied under Ben Graham, Warren Buffett's professor. The guy was a brainiac. He read 100-year-old newspapers, like just for fun when I came home from school. Like he got them from the library, like they used to have that, I guess. The guy was incredible. Yeah. Total cerebral. And then his dad, though, opposite, total athletic, physical guy. He was like the captain of 3 sports in high school and college. Then he coached. He ran a camp. This would never fly. His camp's ad, this is so good, man. I love this. He ran an ad for a summer camp where he said to the parents, he said, "Send me your boy for the summer and I'll return him home a man." And he ran a summer camp where he did this, but he did for real. There was nothing nefarious. And it sucks that wouldn't fly today, by the way.
I agree.
One of the best ads I've ever seen, like copy. It happened to be my grandpa. I'd love to have the 2 of them like at dinner and talk about like father-son stuff, get their tips from me as a father then now to my son. And just the dynamics, like how'd that all work, How do we become nature versus nurture and all that stuff? Those would be the first 2. And the third, I'm not a religious guy, but it'd be Jesus.
Yeah.
And the reason, I'm a more spiritual guy. I got kicked out of Catholic school once, I guess only once. I didn't go back.
Once.
But, it's like, even though I'm not a religious guy, very spiritual, but it's widely agreed Jesus existed. I'm very fascinated by that. It's like, he's not made up. And for instance, he was on the cross. It's pretty widely, by scholars, like widely understood, he was on the cross, and that he did somehow survive and come back. There's question about whether he died or not, right? But he's on the cross. He got resurrected in some way. The Bible, he's the main character in the Bible. Number 1, I looked this up, number 1 book ever by far, bestseller, by far. Not only that, every year, it's been the number 1 every year for whatever it is, 500 years since the Gutenberg press came out. It's been number 1. I'd want to ask Jesus, what really went down? What was the story?
Yeah.
Give me all the stories from him, because that affected so many people. I would just want to be the guy, again, barbecue story. Like, hey, I just had dinner with Jesus. I think everyone would want to talk to me on that day. And then I have a close 4th, by the way, that I just got to get in there, which is my favorite band is the Grateful Dead. And Jerry Garcia, I believe, is the most underrated sort of philosopher in life that I know of. And I would really like to know more about him. I think a lot of people just kind of pigeonhole him as this hippie 60s guy who, did a lot of LSD and other stuff. But that guy, if anyone ever goes and listens to interviews, that guy was a thinker, man. He came up with some stuff where, for instance, he said when on stage, he wouldn't think, hey, I'm Jerry Garcia taking a solo. He completely surrendered to the music. And he said, that's when the miracles happen, and let it all go. no control. And that's when the musical miracles happen. And the other thing he did, he had this phrase, undiscovered Beethovens. He was a big tech guy. He would have loved AI. Because he thinks everyone's got a Beethoven in their head. And that technology allows you to have a full-blown orchestra, studio, without having to do what he called muscle memory, playing the instrument for like 20, 30, 40 years. You don't have to do that anymore with tech. And he liked that. So Jerry would be right up there. Had to pick 4. Sorry.
That's great. No, it's good. That's good. It is a corny question, but you could always learn a lot from somebody by the answer to that question. That's one of the reasons why I threw it in here. You would really also, now that you bring it up, and it's a good segue into the next question. I had mentioned my buddy that lives down the street that's a big Knicks fan, also a massive Dead fan.
Nice.
Have you been out to this? Did you go out to the Sphere to see Dead and Co?
No, I didn't. I kind of retired a little bit, only saw Dead Co a little bit. I was more like the original Grateful Dead kind of guy. But for your friend, the Knicks fan, my first Dead show was at Madison Square Garden. But it's not the answer to the question I know you're about to ask.
Okay.
I think you're going to ask.
First concert, last concert.
Yeah. So my first concert was the Ramones, the punk band in Central Park in New York City. My sister took me and a friend and her friend, and I was just like, I don't know, 13 or something, and saw the Ramones and had such a blast. Saw these people dressed up in weird costumes. I thought that's what a concert was after going there, that you dressed up, because I saw a guy dressed up as David Bowie and like someone else just with weird spiky hair. So I thought like so many people were dressed up. I was like, oh, that's what you do at a concert. You dress up like Halloween. I loved it. Great first concert.
That's awesome. And last concert you went to? Yeah,
the last concert I went to is called the Terrapin All-Stars, and it was the son of Phil Lesh, the bass player from the Grateful Dead, is now this. I would say he's probably my favorite of that new world. That the children of the Grateful Dead are playing some awesome music, and he's my Graham Lesh. He's kind of my favorite of that new generation from them, from their families. Yeah. And he just rocked it out with some other guys down in Menlo Park. I went on a Sunday night and just with a buddy, and we had a blast.
Great. That's fun. I love getting the stories behind these questions, like especially the concert question. So what was
yours?
It.
Give me your first and last.
Oh, my first concert I ever went to was Green Day. It was the Dookie Tour in 1994 at Blossom Music Center in Akron,
they're
Ohio.
a local band.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're an Oakland band.
Yeah. By the way, I walked to school with a fellow parent who plays with Billy Joe in the cover band. You know, he has a cover. It's called the Cover Ups, I think.
Yep.
So he plays with that. He works for them as an engineer, and then he plays drums in their cover band. Awesome. And I see him, pretty much every day.
It's great. I went to. They went on their 30-year anniversary. I think it was 30-year anniversary tour a few years ago, where they played the entire Dookie album from beginning to end, and then the American Idiot album from beginning to end at Wrigley. And my wife surprised me, and we got like pit first row seats. And that dude has not skipped a beat. Yeah. Like he is an insane performer. Really
just did the Super Bowl out here in San Francisco. Yeah. They did not the halftime, but they did like the big pregame show.
Yeah,
they crushed it.
He was holding. I feel like he probably held back. He probably had some things. The national stage. I thought he was going to go to say something or do something, but they held back. Yeah. I was waiting for it.
Well, Bad Bunny had enough stuff going on with that.
Yes. Yeah. Last concert that I went to. Who was the last show that I went and saw? You know what? I took. Is this it? No, actually, it may be Green Day.
First and last. Nice.
Riot. They went to Riot Fest last year. So they were at Riot Fest. It was like
where's Riot Fest?
In Chicago. So it was like Blink 182, Bad Religion, Bouncing Souls. I'm a big punk fan. So when you said like Ramones, that would have been insane. I saw them in the mid 90s at a show in Northeast Ohio, but there was like Dropkick Murphys. So it was just a festival here in Chicago that's every year, and Green Day's closed out the festival. So they probably would have been the last band that I saw too.
Wow.
Funny
awesome.
enough.
First and last.
Yeah. First and last. So great. Well, Rob, this has been like just a great conversation in general. How do people find you? And then what do you want them to know? Any plugs you want to throw out right now?
No, just, if you're interested at all in AI, I would definitely check out the Media and the Machine podcast. And I really, because I'm not doing this for money, I really welcome and love feedback, guest ideas. The smartest person you know in AI could be the next guest on that. And I think there's something for everyone there in Media and the Machine, the podcast. So that's a place I would point them to. And if folks have business ideas on something to do with me, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm /Rob Kelly. I was the 40,000th person on LinkedIn. I learned someone at LinkedIn said they could see the code when they look at your profile.
Yeah.
And they were like, you're kind of an OG because you were the 44th or whatever the number was. So I'm very proud of that. /Rob Kelly on LinkedIn.
Good. Put that in your headline right below your name on LinkedIn. Awesome. Well, that is a wrap for this episode of Life's a Pitch. Big thanks to Rob for coming on. Again, just a fun conversation. If you liked it, share it. Go subscribe, follow. It helps me grow this thing, or go tell a friend, or take something that Rob said, borrow it, whatever it is. And remember, behind every strategy, title, or success story, there's chaos, self-doubt, and a whole lot of trial and error. We'll see you next time.